This week in episode number 17, From the Trenches, we talk about the best seminar that I've ever taught, the 4 key destinations for seller financing, and what a small, hand-picked group of investors that are experienced had to say about it. Welcome to I Love Real Estate Stories, episode number 17, From the Trenches. You guys remember, this is the show where we give a behind-the-scenes look at the life of a real estate entrepreneur, showing you what's possible and teaching you along the way. Now, the life of this real estate entrepreneur over the last week was, I was on a Disney cruise, and it was off the hook. I'll talk more about that maybe next week.
Had you ever been on one before?
No, I've been on cruises, never been on Disney cruise.
Disney, though.
My kids dug it.
Yeah, I bet.
They dug it. So we'll talk about that.
Sounds like a week-long freak out for the kids.
It's amazing,
right?
It's amazing stuff. But you guys probably don't care that much about that. But I did want to tell you guys, I mentioned weeks and weeks ago that I did this Understanding Seller Finance seminar, and it was amazing. We actually just got the videos done. Jason spent kind of forever nitpicking these seminar videos.
I do that sometimes.
He does that. And he made this really cool promo kind of video of it too. Recognize why it's a benefit for you. But you don't talk about that with them. You talk in terms of what it's going to do for them.
You don't need a lot of money, if any money at all, to make these deals happen.
The primary reason I did this was the people on my team, they go out and negotiate and they can go get seller finance deals. They're not getting as many seller finance deals because they're not inside my head. I've had years of experience with negotiating with private sellers and years of getting seller financed deals and seeing all different aspects of seller finance deals. So I really wanted them to understand that. But in order to understand it, the way you teach that is, for me, you have to bring up the concept first, right? You need to bring it from a low level, introduce the concept. And after you introduce the concept, you need to give an example. And I gave real world examples. What was really cool in this seminar was Jason put together a collage of these sellers. We went and interviewed the sellers that I currently write checks to, right? And we talk about their specific examples, but not only showing you how it was good for me, I click play in this seminar and you get to hear from the seller why they liked it. And all of these sellers love it. So I really illustrated that seller finance can be great for the seller, and it should be great for the seller. So that was a key element of this. And finally, I role-played it. I had everybody role-play it. So not only understanding the situation, you need to be able to role-play it and recognize it in the real world. And people got a ton from that. I think people had a ton of great takeaways.
Yeah, one of the things that I heard someone say that it was really cool to have you there, because you were there with all the role plays, kind of giving them feedback, and in fact, a lot of times jumping in the role play yourself during the feedback sessions, and he said that was really cool, because it got you to share things that maybe you didn't even think to share.
Yeah, because I don't think they share stuff a lot unless it just is in the moment. So in those role plays, I got to say, well, here's what I would have said, and I jumped right in, and I call it word tracking, right? How you would say something to a seller. So that was valuable. So
Which is huge, right? Because that's sort of the whole point. How do you express this idea that, all of us investors know is awesome to them so that they know it's awesome? And that's just a shift of the mind that a lot of people need.
Yeah. So seller finance is a little bit more difficult to negotiate than just the cash hammer, but it's so much more worthwhile because that's where the money is. Borrowing the money from the seller and knowing how to show those benefits to them, that's huge. And one of the things after this seminar was, I had an evaluation form for everybody that was there because I wanted to know how I did as an educator there. And I was actually blown away. Here's all of the forms. And I got to read all these evaluations, and it was awesome for me. I mean, definitely I could have improved it a couple different ways, and I know how I can improve it. But everybody, I put excellent, good, fair, or poor as, just check one box, and then also give us some feedback. And everybody, except for 2 people, put excellent. One guy went beyond excellent, made his own box and said better than excellent and checked that. Nice. And everybody, the only other 2 people that didn't say excellent said good, which I'm fine with good, right? I know I'm not perfect, but that was awesome to be able to do that, put that whole thing together, and share all that information with everybody, and just basically dump it out of my mind and put it onto my team and put it onto all those other investors that were there, because I know that we're gonna be able to go and use that information and make more money, but not only make more money, make sellers' lives better, because seller finance deals are actually, they should be and can be better for the sellers if you structure it right and if you know what you're doing as an investor. So as an investor, look, you're nothing more than a highly paid, sometimes, real estate consultant Real estate social worker and real estate consultant. So we made the videos too because the training, I know a lot of people there wanted to watch this again, and my people that were there, I want them to watch it again because there was a depth of information there that you need to keep going back to again and again and again. And we recorded the role plays, and that's really cool because you get to see different perspectives on how people did it.
And you could play along even.
Yeah, that was so cool actually. That was a great idea that you had because I wrote the role play for the investor, so the investor knows a certain amount of information about the house. But of course they don't know about the seller before they get there. And the seller, you know, of course they've got their whole life's backstory, right? So I wrote both those scenarios out, and the investor would read what they knew. And Jason put that on the screen so you could read, you know what the investor knows, and then you watch the role play. And you're watching as the investor discovers through a series of questions about the seller. And then after that, you get to read what the seller knew, and then you get to watch the breakout of the role play. I mean, the videos, I can't say it was better than being there because being there, people got to role play, and that's the best scenario to be there. But it's the next best thing, and I'm super jacked about them. So I'm glad we got those done.
Do you mind saying a thing or two about, because you basically broke the seminar into like 4 sections, like 4 different kinds of seller financing. Do you mind, maybe you can go to the whiteboard and talk about the 4 different destinations really quick?
Right now, let's do it. Of course, I can't cram 4+ hours into this right here, but I'll show you the 4 key destinations.
Yeah, just give them an
overview.
Yeah, give them the 3-minute, 4-minute.
So in the Understanding Seller Finance seminar, I use the analogy that as the investor, you're like the bus driver, and you've got the seller in the back of the bus, and you're trying to get in rapport with them and ask them a series of questions to determine what they need or which destination that you're going to drive them to. So the first question you need to ask of yourself as the investor, is this a flip property or a hold property? If it's a flip property, you're going to go this direction. The next question you ask, is there anything owing on the property? If there's nothing owing on the property, then you can take them to destination number 1. Now, destination number 1 hinges on interest savings because I explained that investors value money more than sellers do. Investors know they pay a high interest rate for money, you pay hard money, and sellers don't necessarily expect that. So an example of this was, I was meeting with the seller and he was stuck at a certain price which was higher than I could pay because I was calculating holding costs into my equation. Now when I determined that he didn't value money like I did, I went in there and negotiated that he would get a little more money, but he would get it in a 6 months' time. So destination number 1 is use the seller's money to flip the property so you get interest savings. Destination number 2 is a flip, but they have a mortgage. A great example of that is Sue. You guys might know Sue from the homecoming video we shot last year. She was a situation where she had a mortgage for about $215,000 and it was only a 5% interest rate. So why would I cash out that mortgage to pay 12% for money? I wouldn't, right? So what I did with her was I left her mortgage in place. I was able to pay her a little bit more money and I kept more money in my pocket because I saved money on interest. So again, destination number 2 and destination number 1 hinge on interest savings. And when I did this seminar, I shared the benefits to the seller, the word tracks of how you can sell those benefits to the sellers, right? That's key right here. Because it's one thing you understand the benefits to you as the investor that we're talking about, but it's more about selling the benefits to the seller so that they'll want to do this for you. One of the key benefits for Sue was I was able to pay her more money for her property because I was able to keep her financing in place for a few months. So we weren't gonna be able to do the deal because it was such that if I had to pay a lot of interest on that money, it wasn't gonna make sense for me. So really, leaving her loan in place for a few months enabled me to do the deal and enabled her to get a little bit more money in her pocket. All right, so the next destination is my personal favorite destination. This is somebody that you wanna hold their property and they don't owe anything on it. So just your creativity is the limit here. And a good example of this was John from the North Ogden story, which you may have seen that, right? John didn't own anything on the property and he had a low tax base when he was gonna get beat up when he sold it for cash. So what I worked out was just a win-win scenario where he could get less tax liability and he could get monthly payments, and I was able to get the property, the long-term financing from him on the property, and I was even able to get substitution of collateral and a couple of other cool clauses built in there, which I talk about in the seminar. So again, destination number 3, you want to borrow their money for long-term, as low interest rate as possible and lowest payment as possible. And that's the key to destination number 3 that we talked a whole bunch about. I explained how you explain it to the seller and how you show them their benefits, tax savings, getting a better interest rate on their money, not having to worry about a lot of stuff like that, right? Those are the type of things that you need to sell to the seller. I was able to actually save John $20,000 in taxes by structuring a deal that worked really well for me, that really worked well for him as well. And John was laughing all the way to the bank. Destination number 4 is when they owe something on a property that you want to hold long-term. Now the key thing here is their interest rate and their payment, and also what that property rents for. We talk a lot about what type of rent to payment ratio you want there. We talk a lot about different types of mortgage that you might want to take or mortgages that you can't take. And also if they've got equity there, so maybe they owe a little bit, but they've got some equity above that. How do you deal with that? I call that kind of a hybrid deal. My personal experience with that was a guy that had a fourplex and he was looking for a buyer and nobody was willing to pay the price that he wanted. Well, I went in there, talked to him, asked him some questions and recognized that he had a low mortgage on it, I think like $75,000, but he wanted $200,000 for it. So I went in there and took over his mortgage of $75,000 and that extra money, that $125,000, paid him a little bit down and the rest, I got him to finance that balance for me. So it worked for him because I was able to give him the price. It worked for me because I was able to take over his existing financing and create a little note in mortgage and get him his monthly payments for his equity. So again, we talk a lot about the benefits of how you sell those benefits to sellers. The key benefit to Rod, what I worked out with him was he wasn't able to do the management anymore, but he had some equity. So I was able to give him the monthly money without the management because he had deteriorating health. So it was a great win-win situation there as well. So understanding all four of these destinations is crucial to you as a real estate investor. You need to understand and recognize quickly that when a seller is saying certain things or when you're asking them questions, their answers are going to determine where you're going to take them. And then once you understand them, you need to know how to sell the benefits of each of these destinations, not for you as the investor, but for them as the seller. And that's what's going to get the deal done. And that's when it gets you more deals and more long-term money. All right, so there it is. Weeks and months, in fact, years of preparation of me, stuff in my head, working with sellers, word tracking, all that stuff.
In the trenches, as it were.
In the trenches. You guys can get the value of that because we recorded the whole seminar. I don't sell things very often at all related to I Love Real Estate Stories, but that is for sale. You can click the link below here, the video, and you can buy that. You stream it right now. You can start watching that, or you can go to iloverealestatestories.com in our little shop and you can get that. I'm gonna tell you guys, I promise you that everyone that was there loved it. And everyone was there, it was like, you should charge more for this, right? You're getting the benefit in that. But the most exciting thing for me is you're gonna be able to go out there and add value to these sellers. Because you'll see when you watch those videos, the sellers love me. It wasn't about I won at their expense. On the contrary, like they won and we're still friends and they love what I was able to do for them. Having those type of tools in your arsenal, being able to enhance the well-being of your sellers, truly like provide benefits to them while providing benefits to yourself, like that's worth so much, so much, so much, so much.